idea. Get on.
Welcome everyone, I'm Rabbi Fried here at Chabad, and we are going to do our famous model matzah bakery, which we do for thousands of children around the city, now on video, so everyone can participate and do it at home with your brothers and sisters and moms and dads, and we can have a great learning experience at home before Pesach, before Passover. We're going to go through every step necessary to make our model matzah. I'm sure people remember eating matzah in the past. Of course, matzah is flat, it's not tall, it's crunchy, it's not chewy. The reason for that is it's baked very quickly before the dough has time to rise. The whole process takes less than 18 minutes. From the minute we mix the flour and water in the bowl, that's when the clock starts ticking, until the matzah comes out of the oven. Some people think the matzah should be in the oven for 18 minutes. It is not. Then it would just be burned. And also, the matzah only has 2 ingredients, just flour and water. There's no sugar in matzah, no margarine, which we normally put in things, chocolate chips, any of these ingredients, none of that goes in the matzah, just flour and water. We are actually going to take it from step 1 and use our flour here, our wheat, to make flour for our matzah, just to see where flour comes from. Wheat is one of the 5 grains you can use to make matzah. They are wheat, barley, oats, rye, and spelt. Any of those grains can be used to make flour for matzah. Usually we use wheat. Now let's look carefully. Maybe we'll come a little closer. This is our stalk of wheat. It's very tall. It's got the whiskers at the top, which are not part of the food, not edible. Here you have the really the straw, the stalk of the wheat itself. That's what we're going to take off as well. What I want everyone to concentrate on are the seeds. They're all actually called wheat berries for some unusual reason. They're not berries, but they're in here. These are the part we're going to use to make our flour. So for this, let me take off my gloves and let's watch this carefully. Here we have the stalk. We'll take that off. That's not edible. It's part of the wheat, but it won't help us make flour for our matzah. So that we'll throw out. This part you don't have to do at home. This is just for watching. We'll show where flour comes from. But the actual mixing of the flour and water and rolling out the dough, you actually can do it at home with your family. We'll get to that in a moment. We took off the stalk. Here are the nice whiskers on top. Let's take those off as well. They're kind of prickly. And we're going to put them in the garbage. There they go. And here we go. A few more whiskers off. Beautiful. All right. Now everyone, hold that thought right there. And excellent. And almost excellent. Now it's excellent. Now again, look carefully. Here we have just the seeds from that whole tall piece of wheat. Took off the whiskers on top, the stalk on the bottom. Here are the seeds. Now these seeds are covered in a bunch of shells. They're actually called chaff. There's a special process we do to remove the chaff from the wheat, to separate the chaff from the wheat or take the shells off of the wheat berries. It's actually called threshing, which is a fancy word for smushing. The seeds are so hard that if we'll smush, you can kind of pretend you're doing this at home. I'm going to do it here. It's a little bit prickly, so you'll do it in a pretend way at home while I really do it. We're going to smush and rub this wheat and the wheat seeds in my hands. Here they go. And excellent. I'll take that piece out as well. Now let's get a good close-up of what's going on in my hand. You see that? Here we have the seeds and the shells. They're still mixed together, but at least they're not connected. Because we smushed and threshed, the shells and the seeds are separated. That's step 1. We still have to get rid of those shells. The shells are not edible. And what we want are the seeds. When we get done with the seeds, they're going to go over there in our grinder. You want to show them the grinder. We're going to make our own flour from these seeds. But step number 2 is called winnowing. To winnow means actually just to blow. And by blowing, these shells are so light, they will fly away. The seeds are hard, so when we smushed, they didn't get crushed. They're also heavy, so if we blow, they won't blow away. The shells will blow away. That's how we separate the shells, which we don't want to eat, from the wheat seeds, which we do want to eat and make into flour. So let's count to 3, and together, well, I'll blow. Now we're not blowing at home. We're not blowing on the table. I'll blow here, and we'll blow away the shells. 1, 2, 3. And just like that, beautifully, all of the shells are gone, and here we have the beautiful seeds. See that? So from the tall stalk of wheat we had, we removed the whiskers on top, the stalk on the bottom, and the shells. Here are the seeds that we use to make flour. Now, these seeds, I'm actually not going to put in the grinder because I blew on them, and I'm just going to throw them out because those aren't for use. But if you want to come now, come close. Here is our hand stone grinder. I'm going to turn this in a minute, but show inside if you can. We have some more wheat seeds inside of the grinder. See that? And now, if you notice, this is actually 2 pieces. Let me get on a pair of gloves already, because now we can get back into glove mode. And 1 second here, my very special matzah gloves. And they are beautiful. Here we go. Excellent. Now, here's the top stone. You notice a crack there. This is like 1 piece of cement, 1 stone. The bottom thing is also a stone. They meet at this crack. As we turn the handle, that's where the wheat seeds get caught in the middle, and they come out as flour. And let me do some turning here, and you'll see beautifully it's already snowing flour. This is hand-milled flour. This is how we grind or mill our wheat seeds, our wheat berries, into flour. And in the olden days, they would have a big stone mill like this, probably hooked up to a waterfall near a river, and they'd use the water power to turn these big stones to grind the flour. Of course, nowadays it's often done by machine, but it's the same concept when you have stone ground flour. And let me collect some of this flour. And I'll show everyone what it looks like. This is beautiful hand ground flour. It's a little bit coarse, but that's okay. And let me even put it on the table. You can probably hear it as it lands on the table. And there's our homemade flour. That is how flour is made from scratch. Now, even in the matzah bakeries, they don't really make it that way. They have a tractor cut the wheat in the field, make sure it's very dry. The tractor already does...
You battery 5%.
The tractor already does the flour and the flour and the winnowing and the threshing. So when you leave the field, you already have the seeds, and then it's ground in the matzah bakery. We're going to try and make our own flour now. Here's how our own matzah. Here's how we'll do it. First of all, you can do this at home. First of all, just take any nice mixing bowl and any flour you have at home. Now remember, it's about 1 part flour to 2 parts water, give or take. We'll see how this comes out as a nice dough. Remember, you could use flour at home for your model matzah. You can't make kosher for Passover matzah at home, but we can make model matzah, and that we could use just as pretend and eat it before Passover. Kosher for Passover matzah has to be bought in a store. It's made in a real matzah bakery. That's why we always call this the model matzah bakery. So I'm going to take 4 cups of flour, 2 cups of water. Let's see if we can make a nice dough. You can do this at home as well. Let's see how this looks. Mix it in, a little water, a little flour. Excellent. If this doesn't exactly seem right, I'll add a little more flour, add a little more water. Let's see how this goes. And we just mixed it up. And the dough should seem kind of doughy, not too wet. And okay. This dough, let me show you what it looks like. Kind of like this. It's feeling a little bit sticky to me. So I'm just going to add some flour. Again, you could kind of play it by ear. You really can't go wrong. If it's too sticky, it might just be too sticky to, too sticky to roll out on the table. But that's okay. And here we go. That's a beautiful flour dough. This might even be too big, depending on how many model matzahs you want to make, how many kids you're doing this with in your family. But here we have a beautiful dough. Now, let me just put out a couple of little balls of dough, matzah balls, on the table. Sprinkle a little flour. And you can take any rolling pin you want. These are actually real rolling pins from a real matzah bakery in Brooklyn. And just roll them out. Now, it doesn't matter. You roll and flip. Every couple of rolls, you flip so it doesn't stick to your rolling pin, doesn't stick to the table. Just roll and flip, just like that. Doesn't matter what shape it comes out. Usually handmade matzahs are round. Machine matzahs are square. But matzahs that we make at home can be any shape you want. And just like this, doesn't have to be too thick or too thin. That's a beautiful matzah. We'll do another one just to show you. Roll, flip, roll, flip. Beautiful, just like that. Now matzah always has holes. And this is sticking a little bit here, a little bit more flour. The reason matzah has holes, that's what keeps it flat. Now when we're at home, how are we going to make holes? Very simply. We'll just use a fork. Yes, you want to pass me a fork? Any little plastic fork or one of your forks in the kitchen can make holes. Beautiful. Just like that. A few holes around so when you bake it, it won't bubble up like a pita, because then it will look like a pita, not a matzah. And here basically is a beautiful matzah. Just like that, that's what they should look like. We'll put them in the oven. And set the oven, I would say 400, maybe 450 degrees. And it might take about 10 minutes to bake. Come over here a little bit. I'll show you what the final product looks like. These will go into the oven. And like any professional chef, we have matzahs ready to go in the oven. And here are what homemade matzahs look like. Just like this, nice and thin. They can kind of brown, not exactly like the matzahs you make at home, you buy in the store, but you can taste them. They're very tasty, and they're a lot of fun to make. Again, when you put them in the oven, just watch the oven, because sometimes they let off a little bit of steam, and you might want to even open the door a couple of times during the baking. But when they look like they're ready, they're ready. And this is how we make our homemade matzah. Now remember, it's only model matzah for Passover. You want to make sure you get hold of real matzah, handmade shmur matzah. It looks like this. Well, it's in a box like this. Let me show you quickly. Take off my gloves for this final. And this is what a piece of real handmade matzah from Israel looks like. Of course, it doesn't have to be from Israel. It could be from New York or other places. And it's something like this, part of a much bigger circle of matzah. And that is what a real shmur matzah looks like. But it's great fun. Try it at home. Make your model matzah. And it's great practice to have a hands-on experience and get really into what Passover is all about. And one of the most important mitzvahs we have on Passover, which is matzah. And I want to wish everybody a great Passover and Chag Sameach.